Hello everybody and welcome to Game A Dayer. It is day 109 here on Game A Dayer. My name is Step and today we are going to be playing Belladonna. I was going to save this one for some time, I don't know, but Tams is picking all of our games this week. That's Tams of the Girl in Real Life channel, and she has chosen this one for this Thursday evening. So thanks very much, Tams, and let's enjoy it. Belladonna is a gothic adventure game, twisted and dark. Take the role of a corpse girl risen from the dead in an abandoned laboratory and unravel the mysteries concerning your own death and reanimation. It has mostly positive reviews and is available on Steam for $7.79. So, yeah, I'm super excited about this one. Let's jump right in and play it. Neck bolt. Neat. Okay. It's quite loud, but I think we're okay. Nice creepy music.
Oh, the physical sensation. Pain? I'm alive? That's odd. I don't feel alive. What's going on? I have no memories of anything before this point in time. My mind is tabula rasa, yet I have a language. I seem to be in some laboratory of sorts. Maybe I can find out what happened if I look around.
Wow, the references on this screen are phenomenal.
A torture device turned into a strange machine. What kind of place is this? My very first memory is waking up on this thing. Before that, nothing. I wonder what I am.
We can't look at the plague mask. Interesting.
Books. A lot of natural philosophy and chemistry. Something by an M.W. Shelley. Now is not the time. There's a handwritten note here. Maybe it can shed some light on my situation.
It is with shaking hands and heavy heartbeat I gather before me the instruments of my last desperate attempt. I find myself on the threshold of my toils, a turning point, for should I fail tonight, I doubt I shall find the strength and resolve to continue. At my feet now lays the lifeless remains of my beautiful Belladonna. A few hours ago my wife was alive and well, and now she has been cut open, dissected, altered, and artificially reconstructed. From the second she gave up her final breath, I have worked tirelessly to preserve and prepare her corpus, that I might infuse a spark of being back into her lifeless limbs. This is the final test of all my research and experimentation the past 5 years. The complete revivification of a human being, body and soul. The anxiety I feel is agony, but I cannot let it hinder me from carrying out what I must do. For my own sake, and for hers, this procedure must not fail. In my feverish dreams, my wife appeared as such a lovely creature, so far removed from this creation before me. Her cheeks, once so full of laughter, are now pale almost to the point of transparency. With the skin stretched so thin over the cranium, it threatens to rip at any moment. Her eyes would shine like the night sky, but are now empty, watery and yellowish. I have to cling to my conviction that she will regain her former grace and vitality. Once she is brought back to the realm of the living, her eyes will lighten up with the flame of life. a Promethean flame stolen from the very gods. From this night on, man shall be the master of his own destiny, and God shall no longer be above us. As I write, the engines of life are finally heating up, the last of the preparations coming into order. The crucial moment is ever approaching. The time has come. Success! The attempt was a success! She's alive! Okay, so we have a journal entry. I guess that's the journal right there. What else do we have in this room? Ooh, a doctor's bag.
There's a screwdriver in this toolbox. Better take it.
Alright, we have a screwdriver. That's good. All sorts of oddly shaped drawers. Galvanic experiment.
It looks like the legs of a frog hooked up with wires. And I'm pretty sure it moves when I'm not watching.
How would you know you're not watching?
It's a brain in a jar. I wonder what it's thinking.
It is a brain in a jar.
This oil looks expensive. Let's waste it. A human skull or a paperweight? That is one ugly gargoyle. Looks like a George to me.
George the Gargoyle.
I have no idea what's inside of this, but it glows. The door won't budge. It seems to be barred from the other side. I might be able to unscrew these hinges, though.
Alright. Let's use the screwdriver on the exit.
The screws on these hinges are rusty and stuck. I need some lubricant to loosen them up.
Alright, we'll use the vial of oil on the
Smear
exit.
some oil on the rusty screws. That should loosen them up. I'm free.
Oh look, another journal page. And
What
another.
a dedicated knight to guard a damp dungeon like this. Maybe he was demoted. Maybe he likes the dark. Maybe he's secretly a poet. I bet his name is Roland.
Roland. Well, let's have a look
Another
at the
piece of
journal
paper.
page.
This was written long before the last one.
Work is going great. Kept a rat alive for 1 hour and 26 minutes last night. We'll move on to larger mammals within the week. I find my life more and more polarized into two phases. I remember times when I used to climb up and down the stairs like a squirrel each day, but now I spend most of my time, and indeed most of my thoughts, down here in my laboratory, only to step upstairs at night to sleep. It is warmer upstairs in the living area, but it is boring and understimulating. Down here is where I make progress. Down here is what matters. And as I lay awake beside my sleeping wife, I often wish I was down here with my experiments. Belladonna grows increasingly distant. Ever since that fateful night when our baby Lucas gave up his last breath, she has lost all trace of her old self. God knows what she is thinking about, as she silently gazes into the empty air or restlessly paces back and forth in the great hall. I, at least, am working with my grief. I have turned my attention into the science of life and death, and not a day goes by when I do not think of how my son was ultimately taken from me. This is the thought that drives me. In this, the greatest of ambitions, my own son will never return. I have accepted that now. But thanks to me and my work, with the cold, ruthless contrast between living and dead will in the future be much softer, maybe even completely erased. My wife, though, has let our grief devour her whole. She is emotionally and intellectually paralyzed, it seems to me. All her creativity and quickness of thought, the wittiness of her speech, and the nimble way she used to jump from one conclusion to the next, All those qualities that made me fall in love with her in the first place, they have all been snuffed out like a flame of a candle. This makes me wonder even more why I bother to go up to her bed every night. The shell in which she has enclosed herself cannot be breached by anything I say or do. It is almost as though she is involved with someone other than me. I feel ridiculous even writing it down. No. It seems ludicrous to think that Belladonna's disinterest in me is due to her seeing another man. I will not accuse her of that. It is just one of the many strange ideas that seem to appear in my head when I am down here by myself. I'm probably just tired. I'd better try to get some sleep as soon as that rat's heart stops beating. Alright, so he's a creep. Creepy creep. That's fine. Well. There's a bed over here.
It looks like someone has been sleeping quite a lot in this sorry excuse for a bed, and it was hardly the suit of armor. But why would someone choose to sleep down here? There's a long stick here. Perhaps it was used to try to chase away rats when trying to sleep.
Huh.
More writings from the lonely doctor.
This is a a lot of reading in this game. Curse my miserable existence, the hopelessness of which I see, from which I see no conceivable escape. I cannot rid myself of the feeling that there is something of utmost importance that I need to take care of, but that it is not yet time. That something beyond my control needs to be completed first. I carry inside me the sensation of waiting, yet I cannot name the thing I am waiting for. In the meantime, all I can do is work. I do make progress, but at an excruciatingly slow rate, and nothing I accomplish seems to calm the anxiety in my head. I sleep for a few hours every night and cannot remember my last hot meal. I am feverish and jump at the smallest of sounds. What is it that I'm missing? I am spending more and more time down here with my research. I only occasionally go upstairs to sleep in the master bedroom. Most nights I sleep, if at all, in a makeshift bunk I have constructed in the cellar. It is not as comfortable, but my research is at a point where it often requires my constant attention, and comfort is not my priority. I'm certain I am advancing even closer to a significant breakthrough. It is as though I am powerless to control, or even affect, the rate of its occurrence. And on top of this, I cannot rid my mind of the idea that Belladonna has forgotten me and taken a new lover. A new man in her life, someone more lively than me, perhaps? Someone who can still look at life with the joy and optimism to match her own by grave tragedy and with joy and optimism to match her own by grave tragedy and unaffected humor. Yet who would that be? I can remember friends we used to have. In my memory, our wedding was a crowded and festive event, but it has been years since this castle has seen any visitors. I have no time for social obligations, and Belladonna seems to have given up on everything that is pleasant in life. I suspect the castle is in an undesirable condition as well. Almost all of the staff have left us. We are down to one girl who dusts the cupboards and lights the fireplace, but I don't see much of her these days. Either in these days. For all I know, she might be gone as well. There cannot possibly be a man in Belladonna's life apart from me. Wolfram von Gravenschloss is the name of the doctor, apparently. Alright.
Another locked door. Let's take a peek through.
Oh, I see. There's a key. Can we get the key with the stick?
The stick is long enough to reach the key, but how will I grab it?
Good question.
Hello, Roland. Hello, Roland.
Nothing out here. Maybe back in the laboratory.
The toolbox is empty.
There's a magnet there.
I love magnets. Look, I can attach the magnet to the end of this stick.
Works for me.
Another locked door. Let's take a peek through. Let's hope this works. Aha! Just as planned.
Perfect.
I got the basement key.
So use basement key on door.
A couple of cogwheels on the floor. They must have fallen off the mechanism when the door slammed shut. I wonder if I can put them back.
Perhaps. To the basement.
More letters. Has he figured it out yet?
I see now that my suspicions have been well grounded, albeit aimed in the wrong direction. Belladonna is not seeing another man. She is seeing a woman. I am convinced that it must be that maid, Claire, or whatever her name might be. She and Belladonna are up to something, I'm sure of it. And to think of all the hours I'm stuck down here, caught up in my dreadful work, leaving them free to roam and left to their own devices upstairs. Of course they have found each other, only living things in this whole castle besides me and my week-long rabbits. They have it all figured out. When I come upstairs, they act all innocent, keeping their mutual secret from me as a playful game. But as soon as I descend to the laboratory, they are in each other's arms again. But what can I do? The progression of events are beyond my control. Just like my work, I slave away in my ghoulish endeavor, making progress every hour, but never getting anywhere, and simultaneously Belladonna is slipping away from me, further and further for every night, and yet nothing ever changes. Should I confront them? Storm up there, hoping to catch the two in the act? Take back the life that was mine? The wife that was mine? No. I have no reason for my silly suspicions. No evidence whatsoever. Merely a thought stuck in my brain, refusing to leave. So I remain passive, as always, and each new day is one more where I am unable to make an action, unable to change my wretched situation. You know, if you just talked to your wife, that would probably work out better for you. Alright, so, big gear go there. Was this medium gear go there? Small cogwheel go there. Pull valve. Yay! Journal page. Portrait. Let's look at the portrait.
The label says Dr. Wolfram von Trauerschloss.
Trauerschloss.
So this is the man who brings the dead back to life. He looks as though he would have been handsome once. It's a mortar. And a pestle, too. They seem to belong here, but I'll remember where they are in case I need them another time. A big and heavy candlestick. It looks like there used to be two of them. It's warm. I haven't realized until now just how cold my body is. The name on the plaque is Lucas von Trauerschloss. This must be the ashes of Wolfram's son. A beautiful china bowl. It looks hand-painted.
So, we don't take a mortar and pestle, but we'll take a china bowl. Alright, let's look at these journal pages.
The doctor is losing it. He's just scribbling down nonsense by now. What will he do if he ever acts on his wild suspicions?
Well, I'm fairly sure it's obvious what happened. It is clear to me what I must do. I am now convinced beyond any reasonable doubt that my wife is unfaithful, that they still hide it very well, her and that housemaid, but my logical mind tells me that there is no other explanation. For countless hours I have pondered this situation, and the more I think about it, the more certain I become that my judgment is correct. These countless hours are hours I could have spent thinking about my work, but it is clear to me that I will never be able to fully concentrate on the puzzles at hand, as long as my thoughts keep creeping back to my wife and her new lover. This is the very reason that my research is progressing at such an agonizingly slow pace. So it is clear to me what I must do. Belladonna herself is the person who I want back into my life, so I cannot punish her. That leaves her lover, the young maid. She is unimportant, and it is she that must go. I could fire her and throw her out of the household, but I fear that would not resolve anything. The two of them would still know of each other, and they could write secret, forbidden love letters, or meet up at secluded rendezvous. No, it is clear to me what I must do. I must get rid of the maid for good. A plan is already taking form in my head. In the greenhouse out back, I keep a lot of plants and herbs. One of the specimens I have is called the deadly nightshade, also known as belladonna, an interesting plant with many medicinal uses, but its renown comes from the fact that its extract is lethal already at small doses. Preparing a powder from this poisonous plant is not at all problematic. Getting the victim to ingest the dose will be a challenge, but I expect to have ample opportunity. They are not aware I know the truth, and thus suspect nothing. The maid will fall ill, and within a short time she will die of seemingly natural causes. No one will be the wiser concerning the true circumstances of her demise. Deadly nightshade is merely a common name for this plant. Its scientific name is Atropa belladonna. The symmetry strikes me as beautiful. The poor girl strayed too close to the belladonna, and that would be the death of her. What a yutz.
This story is so sad. I don't even know if I want to read this one.
My wife took the wayward maid's death harder than I expected, further confirming my suspicions that they were indeed having a secretive love affair. She is passionate and irrational, raging all day and crying all night. Where a few months ago the cold shroud of silence lay over the house, now there is the wailing shrieks of bedlam. One should think that she would be used to dealing with the grief of lost loved ones by now. However, in all sincerity, I don't believe she was ever as affected by the death of our only son as I was. I also suspect that she might have guessed I had something to do with her lover's demise. If she wouldn't talk to me before, now she yells and barks at my every movement. I hardly leave my laboratory these days. I even have a small bed down here, where I sleep a few hours when I'm not working. All the while she prowls around upstairs like a hungry tiger and attacks me over futile nitpicks as soon as I poke my head out. What happened to the love we shared when we married? We were going to live together in her inherited castle. We were going to have children together. Now all I get is abuse and a cold bed in the basement. All I want is for things to go back to the way they were before all this. Well, maybe you shouldn't have killed the maid. Jerk.
A dead body.
A dead jerk?
It's the body of Dr. von Trauerschloss. He's dead. And what's more, he's been murdered. But who could have done this? There must be some clues around. The body is still warm. He cannot have been dead for much longer than I have been alive. Did he have to die for me to live? The missing candlestick. And it seems to be the murder weapon.
So she takes it.
There's a letter clutched in his hand.
Oh god, more reading.
Or a clue left by the killer.
Over the course of a sleepless night, I have thought through my next course of action from every possible angle. For it is indeed time for me to take action again. Even with the troublesome maid out of the way, I see little chance of getting my old Belladonna back. If anything, she is worse now than ever before. But I have an idea, one that kept me awake all night. I have come very far in my research by now. I can now fairly predictably create living creatures that are stable enough to not spontaneously die again. This is consistent through my different species of animal. I have noticed something peculiar, though. The returned creation seems strangely vacant and sluggish. It is as if, although the body is brought back to life, the soul is forever lost. The creation is perfectly functional, and responds to stimuli just as if it were truly alive, but the mysterious spark of will seems to be missing. I know no other way to describe the phenomenon. This bothered me before, but now I cannot help but think that this might suit my needs. Isn't it precisely the strong will of my wife that is causing all my problems? There is no need to be poetic with flowers this time. I am in no short supply of lethal substances in my laboratory, and poison suits my needs well as it leaves no physical trauma on the body. I will still need to make incisions in the corpse and replace internal organs with clockwork parts, but stitching together surgical cuts is much simpler than trying to repair unhealed bodily damage. The integrity of her visage is a priority. To extinguish Belladonna's current life and give her a new one, to bring her body and mind back, minus soul and free will, a beautiful, obedient automaton, a mechanical doll with all the functionality of a woman, but who is responsive and does what she's told, that, my dear future reader, would be truly something. I think it is high time I tried my revivification process on a human subject. Yeah, putts.
It's an old clock. Tick tock, tick tock. Those are a lot of gargoyles. Leupold, Brunhilde, Arthur, Maya, Lena, Ismildor, Ether, and Yosef. In that order.
Okay. Well, let's look at the other journal page.
This letter is signed Belladonna. I've been waiting to hear the other side of this story.
If you had asked me just a few years ago about my future, I could never have fathomed my life today would be as it is. So strange a path has the twists of fate set me upon, that I wake every morning bewildered, and like a small child I expect anything and everything to happen during each new day. The night my planned future snapped out of joint and took a whole new direction was the night when my son Lucas died. I married Dr. Wolfram von Treschersloss in the spring, and we loved each other deeply back then. How young we were! He was an educated gentleman from the University of Ingolstadt, and I had first assumed we would get a flat in Vienna. Instead, he convinced me we should live in my family's old castle and accept our roles as old-fashioned nobility to the little village down the hill. We moved into the castle with a staff of 30 servants, beginning the task of breathing life and joy into the majestic halls. At this time, I expected to live out my life as a lady of the household, minding the servants and, indeed, raising children. Before long, our first son was born, and shortly after that, he once again departed. I was devastated, of course, but Lucas had been sickly from his first day, and even though my husband had blocked out the possibility from his mind, I was not entirely surprised when it happened. Nonetheless, it changed us. I believe Wolfram blames me for what happened. He thinks it was somehow my fault. He retreated into his laboratory in the old dungeon and started doing unholy experiments and God knows what. Those were dark times. Instead of a household and a child to take care of, I now had no guests, practically no husband, and no child. Everything I thought would occupy my time was gone, and all I could do was grieve in solitude. The castle staff left one by one, until there were only a handful still here. My existence was meaningless, and I spent my days doing nothing. But I dealt with my grief in my own way, and in time, the claws of melancholy began losing their grip on me. In so many ways, I have Clara to thank for that. Study, living room, backyard. Well, let's check out the study, I guess.
A stuffed raven atop a bust of Pallas Athena. What a cheerful decoration. Let's call them Annabelle and Dupin.
We don't want to call him Quoth?
Look, a perfect sphere. Let's see if I can get two parallel lines to intersect. Look, a perfect sphere. Let's see if I can get two parallel lines to intersect.
Okay.
That's a lot of books. Imagine you had books filled with every possible combination of letters. I wonder how much room they would take. There's a finite amount of letters, but unless we acknowledge a maximum length of a word, there would still be an infinite number of combinations, and the library would have to be infinitely large.
Yeah, I used to think about stuff like that.
Look at all these old toys. Wind-up dolls, music boxes, and mechanical trains all around. I think this used to be a private hobby of the eccentric Dr. Wolfram's, before he got into the whole corpse business. Another portrait. It says her name is Franziska Canosa, an old relative, no doubt. But I wonder how she relates to the von Trauerschloss family. I should sit down and write a story. But with all these journals and diary pages lying around, seems like I already may have.
Speaking of...
The doctor's handwriting. I know it well by now.
Months have passed, and I must indeed conclude that the procedure was a success. The new Belladonna is certainly calmer, friendlier, and more docile. She gladly keeps me company in the laboratory nowadays, and she is polite and pleasant in everything she does. One is tempted to describe her demeanor as lobotomized, but no. When I ask her questions, she will answer in a clear and articulated voice, and she is responsive to all kinds of stimuli. Verily, I have gotten all I could ask for. The troublesome maid is gone, and Belladonna is back with me, compliant as ever. Her behavior is exemplary. Our lives are returning to that idyllic past I had thought lost. in all aspects except one. No child giggles in these halls. But my research is proceeding rapidly, and the question presents itself: who needs a womb to create life? I have made an unexpected observation. A side effect of the unliving condition. The household cat, a black beast, and once Belladonna's loving pet, has gained a great mistrust for the latter's new form. A disquiet has fallen over the animal, and he will not go near the creation. Why is this, I wonder? Why this lack of trust, and this sudden and ferocious hatred? Belladonna's appearance seems to me not much unlike that what the cat before so fondly gravitated towards, but evidently the beast perceives a difference. As a species of cat has popularly been associated with witchcraft and mysticism, their eyes do indeed strike one as remarkable. Is it perchance so that the feline oculus is capable of peering into a human soul and spirit? And so, when faced with the created Belladonna, is distressed by lack thereof? Well,
I'm not going near that horrible cat. I'll have to get rid of it somehow if I want to proceed. I'm not going near that horrible cat. I'll have to get...
I could hit it over the head, I suppose.
Interesting, but no.
Okay. Well then, I guess we'll come back here.
That's a lot of books.
Yeah.
Imagine you had... This room looks completely abandoned. I suppose this is what happens when you're down to a skeleton crew of only one maid, no matter how fantastic she is. It's snowing outside. I have no concept of the current year, season, or even geographical location. Another journal page. This one has drops of blood on it.
I, Belladonna, must think, remember, hands, fingers, write, wards, hate. Yes, indeed. Well, I guess there's only one place left to go. Bottle of milk.
There's a bottle of milk out here. I wonder how long it's been here. At any rate, it's frozen completely solid. No wonder in this cold.
Journal page.
One more Belladonna letter. Let's read about this Clara figure.
Clara Steiber was one of the several chambermaids we hired when we moved into the castle shortly after the marriage. In the warm light of recent events, I feel as though I could pick her out of a crowd already at this time, but I suspect that the truth is that she is just another servant, one of many, and I didn't pay her close attention. I now know she deserves. The time following the death of Lucas is hazy and unclear in my memory. I know I spent most of my time in an armchair in the living room, staring out the window. I know now that this must have been a difficult time for the staff as well. My apathy left them without purpose. As more and more of the household was shut down, soon the cooks and stable grooms began abandoning what they wisely identified as a sinking ship. As more and more of the staff left the castle to seek employment elsewhere, there was less and less reason for the rest to stay, and the household was quickly decimated. But throughout all of this, young Clara never left my side. and she gradually shouldered more and more of the household responsibilities, making it her task to take care of me and nurse me through my melancholy. It was her loyalty and industriousness when everyone else had left that finally brought me back from my condition, and, indeed, her love. As I now sit to write, it has been a long, unbroken chain of happy days. Clara and I have the whole castle practically to ourselves, and nothing to do but enjoy our lives and each other. We sleep in a new room every night, cook our own food, and have picnics under tables or in front of the fireplace. We have no incentive whatsoever to uphold conventional norms when this house has become like a secure pocket inside the rest of reality. In truth, this touches on what I treasure most in Clara. Neither of us reap any concrete benefits from our union, neither financial nor societal. There is no embedded purpose of producing heirs. Our relationship exists solely for itself and is its own reward. I am already adopting her adorable habit of naming inanimate objects. The castle is not quite ours, however. Wolfram still lurks like a ghoul downstairs, and occasionally emerges and spends a night up here with me. We have little in common anymore. In fact, he is like a completely new person. His mind is vacant, his stare distant. He's thinner than ever before and shivers with cold. Clara jokingly suggested that we might have him declared mad and sent off to an institution. An innocent idea in her mind, but with some planning this act might actually eventually prove to be our surest path to finally reclaiming this old castle for us alone. I didn't actually expect them to be an item. I thought that was his paranoia. But
This must be the family cemetery. Yet the baby Lucas rests in an urn in the dining room. Why is that?
But I guess women aren't allowed to be friends in games, just like men aren't allowed to be intimate friends and not gay.
It says Snowflake the pet cat. How cute. The stone is so old and the name is worn off. The tombstone says Clara Stieber. This must be the grave of the wonderful maid I've heard so much about. I can't help but notice that it's been emptied. The tombstone says Clara Stieber. This must be the grave of the wonderful maid I've heard so much about.
Interesting that she got a huge grave.
A note.
Great God, why did I not then expire? Why did I not then expire? Why am I here to relate the destruction of the best hope and the purest creation on earth? It was mere days ago, at the peak of our bliss, when Clara fell ill. She complained of headaches and tiredness, so I made a bed for her and laid her down to rest. For the next few days I cared for my companion, just as she had cared for me, and nursed her with all my love and compassion. We believed it was just a passing sickness, and that it would be over shortly. Each morning we thought she was getting better, and each evening we realized she had actually gotten worse. And today, when I entered her bedroom, she was there, lifeless and inanimate, thrown across the bed, her head hanging down, and her pale and distorted features half covered by her hair. In horror, I beheld the body of Clara, my love, so lately living, so dear, so worthy. I rushed towards her and embraced her with ardor, but the deadly languor and coldness of the limbs told me that what I now held in my arms had ceased to be the Clara whom I had loved and cherished. Alas, what foul curse lies in my gentle touch? I have lost my only child to the darkness, my husband to devouring madness, and now my lover has departed this world as well. Is my love truly as poisonous as my ominous name? That's sad. Let's not go to the greenhouse when there's a mausoleum.
What a marvelous mausoleum. The plaque says Francisca Canosa. This must be the resting place of the lady from the portrait in the study. 2 statues of angels. It seems a bit paradoxical to create statues depicting something that's supposed to be immaterial. Let's call them Justifer and Phi.
Okay. Well, what have we?
Yes, those are indeed boxes. A plant, a natural object, standing in a pot, a man-made object. The plant can consume nutrition and grow bigger, and the pot can't. Neither of them can think. So what about me then? I can think, I know that. But am I natural or man-made? It's a large tree. Looks very peaceful. Couldn't I have been reincarnated into one of those instead of being forced back into this mess? Belladonna. This little plant has caused a lot of trouble. For a flower, it's not particularly beautiful, but for a murder weapon, it sure is.
Got some belladonna. Gonna get a lantern.
This lantern might prove to be the very first thing that actually manages to shed some light on my situation. I'll keep it.
And now the journal page.
More letters. Can someone tell me what happened to poor Clara?
Some time has passed since the demise of Clara. As I calm down and regain control over my emotions, it occurs to me that there are some mysterious circumstances concerning her death. The sickness that came over her was swift and sudden indeed. Admittedly, my own medical knowledge is limited, but it still seems to me that such an instant and terminal change of bodily humors should not occur naturally. Could it be that she somehow ingested something that made her sick? But what? And from that line of thought, it is not a far leap to ponder if she was murdered. It was long ago that I lost track of the details of my husband's deranged research, but I do know that he handles lethal substances and obscure chemicals. How easy it would have been for him to slip something into Clara's food. So then, why would he do such a thing? Did he know of our affair? We were very careful, but perchance he guessed it, despite our efforts. He would not go so far as to murder based solely on a guess, would he? The distressing truth is, I no longer have any way of telling what Wolfram is capable of. It is of vital importance that these notes never reach any eyes but my own. These are grave accusations I am scribbling down, and in ways of proof I do not even have anywhere to start looking. And yet, the possibility is there, gloating in its simplicity. Okay, excuse me. I guess we'll keep going. Need to get past the cat. Little Belladonna in milk, perhaps. To the dinner room. Alright.
It's a mortar. They seem to...
Yeah.
Let's grind this plant into powder. That won't work. I don't know why I thought that would work. I need something else. A sound idea, but the milk is frozen. Can't be poured. I'll let it stand by the fire for a while. It's thawed. The milk is now in liquid form.
Alright. Let's pour some milk
The
in a
milk
bowl.
pours easily. Is this how Clara died? I'm not going near that horrible cat. I'll have to get rid of it somehow if I want to proceed. Yes, this should put an end to the grim reign of this beast.
Dead cat.
Look, it's a key.
Feel
And it has
bad
a
about
funny
killing
castle
that cat.
attached to it. No wonder the cat wanted to play with it. The animal must have managed to steal the key somehow. This is strange. This is Belladonna's signature, but the handwriting is just wrong.
I write to exercise my brain. I find that my thoughts become more firm and solid if I force myself to put them down on paper. It doesn't matter what I write as long as I can learn to think again and to remember. I must try and remember. I have no idea how long I have been this way, a walking corpse, a mimicry of human life, an Unmensch. This is all the doings of my despicable husband. He could not be happier, the villain. He got what he wanted, an obedient wife, a beautiful Galatea that exists solely for his pleasure, if only he knew. These notes are the center of my universe, and I keep them well hidden. He doesn't know. He has no idea. The thought has not occurred to him that I might be a thinking being, and I intend to keep it that way. I am slowly and secretly, meticulously pulling my consciousness out of a black void. At first, I truly was a mechanical toy, responsive but never proactive. But gradually, I begin to regain capacity for thought, and I quickly realized that I need to keep it a secret. These thoughts were now the only things in the world that truly belonged to me. Beginning to think again was horrible, in many ways even worse than the state of blissful ignorance from which I had just emerged. I only managed to scribble down single, disconnected words at time. More emotions than thoughts, impulses perhaps. My hands and fingers were stiff and clumsy. I remember cutting myself on a sharp pen once and not being able to prevent the blood flow. I thought that would be the end for me. Surely Wolfram would notice the blood on my hands and get suspicious. But no, the self-absorbed fool merely stitched me up and let me go. I sometimes play with the idea of what I would have to do to prove to him that I am a person. But I won't. The monster has other plans. Wow.
The door is locked.
Well, we have a key for that. Just checking for other things. As my consciousness grows stronger, so does my hatred for my husband. Each morning he brings me with him down to the laboratory and places me in a corner. There I will stand for the rest of the day, still as a statue, silent as death. Occasionally he will throw me a glance or a smile. I find my body smiling back, warmly back. almost like a reflex, and this indoctrination disgusts me. I am a living decoration, a breathing statue of flesh, his wind-up toy bride. But little does he suspect my eyes are darting across the room, secretly and attentively following his smallest movements. I carefully memorize every step he takes, every note he writes down, every tiny detail of his ghoulish discovery. If only he knew how fast I am learning, and what a willing student I am. As of late, he has even picked up the habit of explaining his scientific work aloud. It helps him, I think. It helps him think, I suppose. And I nod and smile and give little encouraging laughs at all the right places. He is muttering his darkest secrets to me, and I drink it all up. And oh, if only he knew just how close he brushes with his own demise. Hundreds of times each day he is close enough to me for my hands to reach up and snap his neck, my strong fingers around his throat, slowly squeezing his precious life out of him. But no matter how close he stands, my arms will not move. I am a prisoner of my own corpse, staring out through glassy eyes, but unable to will any action into my own dead limbs. Call for me, and I will walk. Ask me a question, and I will talk. But my rotting brain is unable to form initiatives of its own. I am a golem following orders. Yet with each passing night my willpower grows stronger. I write my thoughts down diligently and practice my mental capacities with all the resolve I have. The results are slow, but reliable. One day soon I will have the tenacity to strike. And as soon as the time comes, strike I will. One of these days, his lovely life-sized doll will suddenly find the power within her to execute her swift revenge. Yeah, well, he would have that coming, wouldn't he?
That makes no sense.
Alright, fine.
That's a big wardrobe. I bet you could hide a corpse in there. Actually, I better not open it and check.
Okay.
Let's take a look inside. The lid is shaped like a heart and has a tiny keyhole. Whatever's inside must be very precious. Coils of rope. I wonder why we're keeping rope in the bedroom. The mirror is completely shattered. I think someone in here didn't really like their reflection.
Could have been you, Clara.
A note.
Failure. The attempt was a failure. I could not lure my lost lover back into her deceased corpse. All my preparations in vain. All alone now. No one to turn my key.
Is she dead? She doesn't move a muscle, yet she sits upright. She's like a mannequin of human flesh.
We need to find the key.
Interesting, but no. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. Is she dead?
Alright, so we need to find her key.
That's a big wardrobe. I bet you could hide.
We don't want to check the wardrobe, no? Alright, what have we got?
It's an old clock. Tick tock, tick tock.
Okay. Now we have a little bit of a puzzle.
It's snowing outside. I have no concept of the current year, season, or even geographical location. I don't know why I thought that would work.
So we could fumble around for a while and try to solve this, but we've already been playing for a very long time. I was kind of hoping to be able to play the entire game, because I've wanted to play this one for ever so long.
The name on the plaque is Lucas von Trauerschloss. This must be the ashes of Wolfram's son.
Uh-huh.
This is the nail from which I skillfully lifted the basement key.
Looking for Belladonna's key.
Hello, Roland. I can't tell if my reflection in the glass is too distorted or if I really look like this. Am I even a human being? I need something else.
You do?
Now is not time.
Is it not?
You look so lonely, my friend. I'll call you Eva. My very first memory is waking up on this thing. Before that, nothing. I wonder what I am. The toolbox is empty. It never moves when I look at it, but it just sort of twitches in my periphery.
Ooh. I missed a bone saw.
Ooh, surgical tools. Shiny.
Okay.
I need something else.
Yeah. Alright, as much as I would love to try to muscle through, it is getting very late, so we're going to call it here. Thank you for joining me today on Game Adair. My name is Step, and we have been playing Belladonna. Is there a way to save? Do we have a menu for saving? I don't know. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. And leave a comment letting me know what you thought. I thought that this game was quite interesting, even if there was a lot of reading. Also, let me know what you think of my reading. I do a lot of visual novel style games on this channel because, you know, I have a lot of visual novels. And while this one was more point and click adventure, it had some of those novel elements. Yeah, so let me know what you think. Also, if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, and when you do, make sure you hit that dingy bell, because that will let you know when I upload new videos, which I do every single day. Thank you for joining me here today while we play Belladonna. Please come back tomorrow when we'll be playing something for Free to Play Friday.